At FBA Powerhouse, we've generated more than $30 million selling products on Amazon. This allowed us to achieve financial freedom, spend more time with our families, and take vacations on our terms. Let's be real, getting started wasn't easy. Back in 2018, we were just a group of friends trying to figure out how to make money online. We went down the YouTube rabbit hole like everyone else, watching video after video on dropshipping, private label, and retail arbitrage, completely lost. We didn't even know which platform to choose. Shopify? eBay? Amazon? None of it made real sense. Dropshipping? Who's waiting 30 plus days for a product to arrive from China? And even if they did, why would they buy from our random website when they could just go straight to AliExpress themselves? In fact, look at Temu now. Private label? That sounded even riskier. We didn't have the $20,000 to gamble building a brand, paying for ads, and praying it worked. We weren't marketers. We didn't want to create some next big thing. We just wanted something that worked. Out of everything we researched, retail arbitrage was the first real thing that actually made sense. For those who don't know what retail arbitrage is, in short, we would go to local retailers like Walmart, Costco, Target, search for discounted items, buy the entire shelf, and then resell those same products online for a profit. But these were not just random items. We were buying big brand name products people already know and use every day. Think of Colgate, Dove, Crest, Nature Made vitamins. These products were already in demand, already trusted by millions of customers. We didn't need to run ads, beg for reviews, or pray they would sell. They were already proven. All we had to do was show up as the seller. We started by listing those products on our own Shopify store. But we soon realized that it didn't matter how great the products were. No one knew our website existed. To get traffic, we had to run ads. And to make sales, we had to hope people clicked and trusted us enough to buy. So we started listing the same products on eBay and Amazon to get more exposure. On eBay, everything was manual. We had to take our own pictures, write our own listings, and compete with a dozen other sellers, all offering the same product. But Amazon? It was a completely different game. Millions of people were already shopping there every single day, searching for the exact products we were selling. We didn't need to run ads, build a store, or really convince anyone to trust our website. We didn't even have to create product listings. Amazon already had them. All we had to do was plug into existing listings and become a seller on products that were already getting traffic and making sales. And just like that, we started capturing our share of a multi-billion-dollar marketplace. Within just a few weeks, Amazon orders started pouring in. We were shocked. We couldn't believe how fast things were moving. Every day, more and more sales. Soon, we hit our first $1,000 in sales on Amazon. Then we discovered FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, and it completely changed everything. Instead of packing and shipping orders one by one, we realized we could send our inventory in bulk to Amazon's fulfillment centers, and they'd handle the rest. Picking, packing, shipping, customer service, all of it. Sure, we still had to label the products, but compared to shipping every order ourselves, it was a complete game changer. Then we asked ourselves, why waste hours a day managing 10 orders from Shopify and eBay when Amazon could handle thousands of deliveries every day? So we made a decision. We went all in on Amazon. We dropped all the other platforms. And that's when things really started to scale. By our second month, we crossed $10,000 in sales. And by month 5, we were constantly hitting $1,000 a day. That's $30,000 a month. What started as a side hustle was quickly turning into real business. We were all in. Weekends, late nights, early mornings, driving from store to store, hunting for new profitable products to resell. It felt like we had struck gold. We were convinced our lives were about to change forever. But as time went on, the momentum started to slow, and then it stalled completely. We hit a ceiling. The discounted items we relied on disappeared. The shelves were empty, or the items were no longer on sale. And to make things worse, we weren't the only ones chasing deals anymore. Every store we walked into had other resellers scanning the same products, racing to find anything they could flip. Sales dropped fast, from $30,000 a month to 20K to 10K until we were barely making anything. It felt like we were watching the business crumble right in front of us. So We had paused and asked the hard question. What changed? Was it the market? Was demand down? Were people no longer buying these products? We dove into research, and what we found shocked us. The products were still selling, even better than before, but we couldn't get them at a profitable price anymore. The retail discounts were gone, and yet other sellers were still moving those exact same items successfully. That raised a new question. How? Where were they buying these products? Did they have access to some secret store with endless discounts? We were stuck and desperate for answers. Then one day, everything changed. We were in our friend's dad's supplement store, still chasing discounts, scanning shelves like we always did. He watched us for a few minutes, then finally asked, "What are you guys doing?" We explained our routine. We look for discounted items in retail stores and flip them on Amazon. He laughed and said, "Oh, I sell on Amazon too." We froze for a bit. "Wait, you sell on Amazon? Where do you get your products? What stores do you buy from?" He looked confused. "Stores? I don't buy from stores. I buy in bulk, straight from wholesale distributors, or directly from the brands." And in that moment, everything clicked. We finally realized what we'd been missing this whole time. The sellers who were still dominating the listings on Amazon weren't finding some secret retail store with magical discounts. They were skipping the stores altogether. They were going directly to the source. That one conversation broke our entire old strategy and opened the door to what would become our next level. We asked if he could share his supplier contact. He gave us a few, not all of course, but just enough to get started. And that was the beginning of a whole new journey, the wholesale model. We got home fired up and immediately started calling the suppliers we had just been handed. We told them we wanted to buy in bulk, and the answer was the same across the board. "No problem, just send over your LLC, EIN, and resale certificate." There was just one problem. We didn't have any of that. So we got to work. We formed our LLC, applied for an EIN, and submitted the paperwork to get our resale certificate. Within about a week, we were officially in business. We went back to the suppliers, emailed over all the required documents, and within days, our first wholesale account was approved. The supplier sent over a massive catalog, rows of real products with UPCs, names, descriptions, and wholesale pricing. We had cracked the code to brand name retail, and now the doors were wide open. We spent the next few weeks glued to that catalog, analyzing every single product, searching them one by one on Amazon, calculating profit margins, and trying to figure out what actually made sense to order. After hours of research, we narrowed it down to a list of 10 products we felt confident about. We emailed the supplier with our selections and waited anxiously. A few hours later, we got a reply. They asked, "How many units are you planning to order? Our minimum order is $1,000. We had no idea there was a minimum. We were still new to this, so we got scrappy. Instead of putting all our budget into one product, we spread it across multiple SKUs, carefully balancing quantity and cost to hit that $1,000 threshold. We sent the updated list with the unit counts, and just like that, we received our first wholesale invoice. We wired the payment, and in that moment, it felt like a real business. This was the beginning of something bigger. And I still remember one of the first products we ordered. Those giant tubs of Optimum Nutrition Protein Powder. You've probably seen them at Costco or GNC. We were buying them for just $17.99 and selling them on Amazon for $35.99. We were making over 30% ROI, and a week later, we heard the knock on the door. And there it was, our first wholesale delivery. We couldn't wait. We tore open the boxes, started prepping and labeling everything ourselves. And by the very next day, we had our very first shipment on its way to an Amazon fulfillment center. Orders started coming in on day one. We kept refreshing the app, watching sales roll in, and by the time we sold through that first shipment, we had cleared over $300 in pure profit. Fueled by that momentum, we immediately started planning our next order. Same process, researched new products, built our list, sent it to the supplier, received the invoice, made the payment, and just a few days later, another shipment landed on our doorstep. We were in the game, and things were moving fast. Once again, we rolled up our sleeves, prepping, packing, and shipping everything off to Amazon. Sales kept climbing. Another $300 in profit hit our bank, and it felt like we were finally gaining real traction. But we weren't just looking to repeat. We wanted to scale. So we picked up the phone and called our supplier, asking if there was any way to get better pricing. He said yes, but we had to place a $5,000 order. At the time, that felt huge. It was a serious leap of faith, but the data didn't lie. We were seeing results and the model was working. So we took the risk and doubled down. So this time we went bigger. We put together a much larger order. Over 30 different products, about 20 units each. Same process. We send the product list to our supplier, receive the invoice, but this time something was different. We got a 5% discount. Our volume was growing and now suppliers were rewarding it. We paid the invoice and within a week the shipment arrived. And that's when it hit us. This was way more efficient than anything we'd done before. No more driving store to store, hoping to find discounted leftovers on a shelf. We were finally going straight to the source, ordering inventory from the wholesalers. That one shipment alone made us over $2,000 in profit, and we knew we had just leveled up. Our orders jumped from 10K to 30K, then 50K, and eventually $100,000 at a time. And with every larger purchase came deeper discounts, stronger relationships, and better margins. It was a flywheel effect. The more we spent, the more we earned. At our peak, we were consistently hitting 40% ROI. That meant for every $100,000 in inventory we ordered, we were bringing back $140,000 with a clean, predictable 40% profit. We were doing that every single month, not a one-time win. We had a repeatable, scalable, and reliable system. We were grinding non-stop, weekdays, weekends, early mornings, late nights, placing orders, managing shipments, prepping boxes, printing labels. Repeat. But we felt empty. Something was missing. Sure, we were making money, a lot, but we didn't build this business just to create another 9-to-9 job. We built it to buy back our time, to travel, be with family, and actually enjoy the life we were working so hard for. But the freedom we chased, that was nowhere to be found. We were buried in bubble wrap and shipping labels, stuck in a garage while life passed us by. Something had to change. So we took a step back and looked at the numbers. Not just our revenue, but our time. Where was it all going? It wasn't sourcing new products. It wasn't building supplier relationships. It wasn't placing orders and growing the business. It was prepping and packing every single day. Even with FBA handling final delivery, we were drowning in labels, boxes, and Amazon's strict requirement. We were ordering so much inventory. Pallets were showing up at our door weekly, and we were spending over 8 hours a day just getting it ready for shipment. That's when we realized we didn't start this business to become labor workers. We made the decision to outsource the work. So we researched, vetted, and negotiated with multiple warehouses so they could prep, pack, and ship the products to Amazon for us. Eventually, we partnered with the one that gave us the best turnaround times, pricing, and reliability. It was the beginning of a whole new level of freedom. When it came time to place our next monthly order, we made a strategic move. Split the shipment in two. One batch would go to us, business as usual. The other, straight to the prep center, a live test. We followed our typical process. Product list, invoice, payment, but this time we watched closely. A few days later, we got an email from the prep center. Your shipment has been received. And just 48 hours later, everything was prepped, packed, labeled, and shipped to Amazon, without us lifting a finger. That was the moment it clicked. This is what leverage feels like. From that point forward, we stopped playing small. We routed more and more of our inventory through the prep center and started reclaiming our time like never before. Instead of wasting hours prepping boxes, we channeled all our energy into what actually moved the needle. Finding more suppliers, negotiating better pricing, and placing bigger, smarter orders. From that moment on, every shipment went straight to the prep centers. Our time was now spent where it mattered, and the results? Explosive. The business didn't just grow, it multiplied. What started as $40,000 months turned into $100,000 plus in monthly profit. But now, instead of drowning in prep work, we were finally in control, sitting at home, laptop open, placing high volume orders with a few clicks. Just like we had outsourced the prep work, we realized the only way to truly scale, without sacrificing our lives, was to build a team that could run the operations for us. This wasn't just a small business anymore. It was time to stop thinking like sellers and start acting like CEOs. We started by hiring our first team member, someone to handle the repetitive task of finding and contacting suppliers. At first, he was not very familiar with the process, so we documented everything, created video tutorials, wrote clear SOPs, and designed a step-by-step system that he could follow. Within weeks, he was operating like a pro, sourcing hundreds of suppliers and getting real responses. But as those replies poured in, a new problem appeared. We couldn't keep up with all the paperwork, calls, and onboarding, so we leveled up. We brought on a second hire, someone trained specifically to open wholesale accounts, complete applications, and build real relationships with sales reps on our behalf. Again, we trained him the right way, armed him with our SOPs, and handed off another critical piece of the business. That's when the catalogs started rolling in, faster than we could possibly analyze, and we did not want to leave money on the table. So we hired a third person, a trained product analyst, whose only job was to go through supplier catalogs and find profitable, high-demand brand name product. Suddenly, every morning we had a curated list of profitable products ready to go. All we had to do was review, approve, and place the orders. Our business was now a machine, built with systems, leverage, and scale. At this point, we had fully systemized the entire operation. Every piece of the business, once manual and time-consuming, was now handled by a trained expert. One team member was focused solely on sourcing new suppliers and making first contact. Another specialized in opening wholesale accounts and building relationships with sales reps. A third was going through catalogs, identifying the most profitable and in-demand product, and serving them to us on a silver platter. Our role? Simple. We reviewed the products, placed the orders, paid the invoices, and that was it. We weren't labeling boxes, we weren't taping shipments, we weren't buried under logistics. Every order went straight to our partnered prep center, where professionals handled the rest. Of course, it was a long journey, expensive and exhausting, but at that point we were making more money than ever, over $100,000 profit every single month, and we achieved financial freedom. We could spend more time with our families and take vacations on our own terms. We grew so fast that we couldn't even buy all the profitable products we were finding. So we decided to pivot and refine our strategy, focusing only on the most profitable items. We began buying more and more of the same products from our distributors, and with every new order, we earned deeper discounts. But eventually, we hit a wall. We had reached the maximum discount they could offer. Still, we wanted better pricing. After some research, we realized we could skip the distributor and go directly to the brand. The minimum order quantities were higher, but since we had already tested the products, that wasn't a problem. That's when we started building direct relationships with the brands. We were purchasing in such large volumes that one brand eventually offered us an exclusive partnership. We became their sole Amazon partner. That meant we were the only company allowed to sell their products on Amazon, with zero competition. We started documenting our journey on social media and quickly noticed that a lot of people were asking for advice. Our DMs were flooded, but honestly, we couldn't help everyone. So we took a step back and asked ourselves, how can we support the community? We already had exclusive brand relationships that no one else could access, but we knew there were still plenty of profitable products in the market. So we thought, why not share our knowledge? After all, it wouldn't create a direct competition for us. That turned out to be the right question. We decided to create a course to teach others how to sell products on Amazon. Soon, we began seeing people get real results using our wholesale FBA model. Many made their first $10,000 online, and some even quit their jobs. But we were still getting flooded with messages. People didn't just want a side hustle. They wanted to turn it into their main source of income. To do that, they needed more than just information. They needed a team, a warehouse network, and someone to help them scale from 5 to 6, 7, and even 8 figures. That's why we created our Amazon Done With You program. We want our students not just to learn from us, but to implement our proven systems in their businesses. We found that everyone is at a different stage in their journey. Some are just starting out, while others are already doing $30,000 a month and looking to scale to 7 figures monthly. That's why with our Done With You program, you're not just getting access to a course or a library of pre-recorded videos. You'll be matched with a dedicated 8-figure Amazon mentor who will walk you through every step of building your own Amazon business. This isn't some group chat, faceless community, or forum filled with generic advice. This is real mentorship, one-on-one, personalized. Every single week, you'll meet with your mentor in a private Zoom session. These are strategic coaching sessions tailored to your exact stage of business. Whether you're just starting out or trying to scale to over 100K a month, your mentor is going to walk you through everything. And I'm sure you don't want to start this business just to work 12-hour days like we did in the beginning. You want it to be profitable, but also to give you the freedom to enjoy life, take vacations, and spend time with friends and family. That's why, right from the start, you'll be assigned a fully trained Amazon virtual assistant. Someone who can support you with day-to-day operations, like finding suppliers, filling out forms, and analyzing catalogs. They're trained by us, specifically for you, so they can step right into your business. Having someone to help you is essential, just like our first employee was for us. It buys back your time so you can actually enjoy the income you're working so hard to build. So while your VA manages the back end, you focus on building supplier relationships and closing profitable brand deals. And here's where it gets even better. You won't be starting from scratch trying to figure out where to buy. As part of the FBA Powerhouse program, you'll gain instant access to exclusive suppliers list. These aren't just random wholesalers you can find with a quick Google search. These are vetted, high-volume wholesale partners we've spent years building trust with through consistent orders, professional relationships, and exclusive contracts. We've already done the hard work for you, and because of this, you'll step into the market with a real competitive advantage. You'll be able to buy high-demand products in bulk at margins most beginners can only dream of. And of course, you don't want to spend all day preparing and packing your products like we did. That's why you'll get access to our network of Amazon certified prep centers, where your inventory is received, labeled, packed, and shipped directly to Amazon. Best of all, you'll benefit from the same discounted rates we get. Now think about this. Why do so many people hesitate to start a business? It's because they're unsure whether they'll succeed. They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're afraid to put in the effort, only to fail. And honestly, most people quit at the first sign of struggle, thinking it's over. The truth is, mistakes will happen along the way. As you've heard from our story, building a 100K per month business isn't easy. It takes experience, support, and the right partnerships. Doing it alone, that's almost impossible. Now, imagine if all those problems and doubts disappeared. If you had a clear roadmap, avoided costly mistakes, and had access to profitable products, and used a pre-built infrastructure. That's exactly what we've created at FBA Powerhouse with our Amazon Done With You program. I'm not going to spend the next 10 minutes flooding you with testimonials, but just to give you an idea of what's possible. Luis was stuck flipping clearance items from retail stores, barely scraping 2K a month. After joining FBA Powerhouse, he landed his first 5 wholesale accounts and crossed $18,000 a month in sales within 90 days, all while working a full-time job. Natalie, a stay-at-home mom with zero Amazon experience, now has a fully automated operation. With her virtual assistant handling suppliers and product research, she's averaging over $12,000 a month in profit and spends just a few hours a week managing it. Ryan struggled for months trying to figure out FBA on his own, but once he plugged into our mentorship and used our supplier list, he scaled to over $70,000 a month in sales and just signed his first exclusive deal with a national brand. The only difference between them and you, they took action. So if you're serious about building a real Amazon business, then this is your moment. In the description of this video, you will see a link to our website, FBA Powerhouse. Once there, you'll see a button to schedule a call. Click it, fill out the quick questionnaire, choose a time that works for you, and lock in your spot. This isn't a sales pitch. It's a real conversation about your goals, your challenges, and whether our proven system is the right path for you. We've helped hundreds of people go from 0 to 6 and 7 figures. And now, well, it's your turn. Click the link, book the call, and we'll see you on the other side.